Welcome to Sell Yourself Short, short-form performances of written works and interviews with the authors where we ask them to sell themselves. I'm your host, Gary Bernard DiNardo. This episode's story is The Wingman, written by Steven Christopher McKnight and performed by Adam R. Adkins. Join us after the performance when I ask Steven to sell us on him, The Wingman, and any other projects he has lined up.
The Wingman, written by Steven Christopher McKnight. You wonder if heartbreak can be measured quantitatively. When your great Aunt Terry died, you were scoring maybe a 1.2 out of 10 on the heartbreak scale. Your mother was scoring a solid 7. It's not for lack of knowing her. You have core memories of her babysitting you when you were a toddler, and every Christmas she'd send you an empty notebook that you'd write 5 or 6 paragraphs in without ever filling it. You remember the moment she died, or at least the hour. Aunt Meredith called, and your mother answered, and you saw her face sink upon hearing the news that she'd been waiting to hear for a year and a half. When Murph dies, you don't learn it for days. He hasn't been online lately, he usually isn't. It's a simmering friendship. You don't check in every day or every week, but that's the equilibrium. The two of you are like brothers, and brothers don't have to talk every day. It's a late winter Sunday when your mother calls, mid-afternoon. You're at an improv club meeting. Your phone rings when Lyd and Val are 2 onions driving a Wienermobile. You duck out of the small auditorium, and Mom tells you that at church that day, in a gainful prayer for the recently departed, a Murph Donahuy's name drifted up to heaven. Did you know anything about that? So a quick Google search gives you a headline from the local paper. You see a picture of a station wagon, totaled on the side of an off-road you'd gone down with him a million times. The only death was 21-year-old Murph David Donahuy. You read that sentence, that name, over and over again on your smartphone screen, hoping to God that somehow the name will change to some other name, that of a stranger's. It never does. You work nowhere in particular. It's mindless clerical work for a university, like you'd done all through your undergrad. Same duties, different city, scan some receipts, run some mailers over to Deb in the mailroom. An English degree hadn't gotten you your dream job, but a second degree in arts administration got you your purgatory job. For the better, too. You're useless outside of academia. Evenings, you watch your sitcoms. Saturdays, you do your laundry. Sundays, you walk in the park and feed the ducks and avoid making eye contact with the great big red brick church on your way to your favorite bench. Your apartment overlooks nothing of note, just potholes and another motel-turned-apartment building across the way. Sometimes you wonder how fascinating it is that the city has transitioned over from interlopers to residents. Those thoughts leave you most of the time, replace themselves with sterile emptiness. It's raining this midwinter Saturday. Your laundry's all done and folded, and you're sitting by your bedroom window, watching water droplets streak down the pane. You lean your head against the glass, feel the rhythm of the rain against the side of your skull, drift to sleep dreamlessly. Then comes the noise against the window. A jet-black crow taps its beak against the glass. When you look at it, it stops. The crow appraises you for a moment, tilts its head, blinks quickly. You regard it as well. Quickly bored by the sustained stillness, you look away. It caws desperately, and you lock eyes with it yet again. It tilts its head the other way, blinks slower this time. Its beak is different from the other crows you've seen. One edge of its mouth curves upward, making it look like it's smirking crookedly. Shoo, you say half-heartedly, and the crow does not shoo. It blinks slowly, caws desperately. So you pick up a small plastic jar of shelled sunflower seeds by your bedside table, crack the window, pour a meager amount at the crow's feet. Cautiously, the crow stoops down, eats a few, and flies away. You look outside. It's stopped raining. You pick yourself up, lay yourself down on the bed, and drift back into empty sleep for the remainder of the evening. Can we just sit here for a bit? Murph asks when he pulls his mom's minivan into the driveway of your parents' house. It's new for him. Murph is the kind of guy who drives fast and reckless, and you can't count the times you've almost died in the car with him. Murph ping-pongs from point to point, even if those points aren't so far from each other. He only stops when he crashes. You appraise him, but you don't deny him. Sure, you say. But if you're expecting me to put out, I don't do that until after the 4th date. I have class. Murph laughs. He always laughs like he's struggling to breathe and heaving gasps. He seems happy these days. He's working at a small clothing store off of the interstate, and even more surprisingly, he's been there almost 6 months. Most of his gigs last less than 3. Seems this one's sticking. He's dating one of his coworkers now, a girl named Kristen with a nose ring and a rotating wardrobe of band t-shirts. And she underwhelms you, but Murph seems content with it, so you try your best to be content with it too. You sit in light silence for a minute. There's one amber street lamp that shines adjacent to your driveway. It casts a shadow on Murph's face. How's Melissa? He asks, cocking his head. I don't think Melissa's the one, you say with a wave of your hand, as if to bat the disappointment away. Whatever signals she was giving earlier, she's not really giving any more, and She doesn't deserve you, man, Murph says by instinct. No, she's great. You sigh, just didn't work out. I'm not broken up about it. But aren't you? She can be great and still not deserve you, man, says Murph. It'll happen, with someone, and I can't wait to meet her. He flashes his crooked smile your way, and you believe him. Yeah, you say. Me too. A pause. So what about Kristen? Murph senses the facade in your voice. Yeah, I know, but it's what I got, you know. That next day, you take your morning walk down by the park, through a scant tree line that someone deemed a woods, to a cast-iron bench by an engorged puddle someone deemed a lake. It's too cold for ducks. You sit there on the cold, damp metal and breathe and stare at the ripples in the water. On the other side, you spot a tall, handsome boyfriend teaching a tall, handsome girlfriend to skip stones, like a scene from an allergy medication commercial, and you avert your gaze a little too obviously. Your eye catches a black bird perched on the back of a bench right beside you. You flinch, and it stares right into you with its beady black eyes. Something in its beak. The bird opens its mouth a little bit, lets whatever the item is drop beside you with a playful clink. You examine it briefly. It appears to be a small silver locket on a thin chain. The clasp is broken. The crow caws tritely, nods, and then flies off as if an exchange of services has just been made. You take the locket in your hands, feel the chain run between your fingers, press the release on the side of the pendant. It swings open to reveal a sepia photograph of an old woman. Her hair is light, her eyes dark and piercing. She smiles knowingly and eternally, and you smile a little too. You close the locket and place it in your pocket. The couple across the pond have started walking slowly hand in hand along the path in your direction, and you don't want to be caught behind them, so you get up and make your way back to your apartment building. A street away from your building, you spot a woman scanning the pavement frantically. Her plaid flannel is rolled up just beyond her elbows, the wind rustles her wispy blonde hair, and you can't think of a metaphor other than cobwebs, but her hair's prettier than cobwebs. She sees you, and you grow self-conscious of how long you've been looking at her, even though it's only been a few seconds. Excuse me, she says when she's near you. You stop. Didn't I see you at the park? Yeah, I was just there, you say. Why? I think I dropped something there this morning, she says. A locket. It's not precious. I mean, it's precious to me, but just costume jewelry. Well, a picture of my great-grandmother's in there, and I just... Oh! You pull the locket from your pocket. Yeah, I found one at the park. Is this? Yes! She snags the locket from you. Oh my God, thank you. I didn't... Oh, it's just that it's the only picture of her, and she's really important to me, you know? Yeah, you say, nodding. Where did you find it? Park bench. You give a thought to saying something about the crow, but you don't want to sound weird, so the crow is omitted. She shoves the locket into her jean pocket. Well, she points the direction she was going. My name's Dana, by the way. She extends her hand. You shake it. And I know you were just there. I'd like to thank you, and would you like to walk in the park with me? Yeah, you say. I don't have anywhere I need to be. Murph, listen, she was mediocre. She didn't deserve you, plain and simple. And honestly, I think it's a good thing that the relationship is over. It's a ritual at this point. Every time you visit, you sit at the same table at the McDonald's across the way from yours and Murph's old school, and rambunctiously fill in the blanks between this visit and the last. Murph is still at that one store, breaking his old record for longest time retaining a job. Kristen has since stumped him, and you have to hide your smile when you learn of this. You know there's a bro code for this. You never diss the ex, because it's always awkward if, or when, they get back together. But when Murph breaks down what went wrong in the relationship, you honestly can't help yourself. Yeah, says Murph. She was pretty awful, and I wasn't the best either. But you know what's stupid? He laughs. I just can't get over her. He's zoned out, staring at the oil stains on the bottom of a large fries freshly eaten. You will, buddy. Reach over and pat his shoulder. Honestly, you will. He nods and looks up at you. So you got anything going on with anyone? He asks hopefully. Yeah, a musician named Casey, you say. Haven't met her in person yet. Matched with her on Tinder. She works at the Dollar Tree downtown, actually. She asked me if I wanted to visit her there while she was working. Yeah, let's go, says Murph, standing up. Right? She's working now, right? You staying up too? Yeah, we can give it a try. So Murph drives you to Dollar Tree. He stands with you and Casey and talks you up, telling Casey what a good friend you've always been, how you've always been kind and chivalrous and talented, and when you've had enough, he drives you back home. Honestly, says Murph, I think she might be the one for you, man. And you know that's not true. You see the same miscellaneous red flags he sees. In the month, he'll tell you, yeah, I didn't like her. Dana's studying for a master's degree in journalism, focusing on literary work. You quickly learn that she's a much stronger writer than she is a speaker, but you still enjoy hearing her speak. She tells you meandering stories on your walks together about teaching English abroad, about her summer as a rodeo clown, and about her great-grandmother who birthed 9 children and raised them by herself on the main streets of Chicago, about, once the waters have been tested thoroughly, once she trusts you and you trust her with valuable and incriminating information, some former relationships, some insecurities, some losses, some philosophies. I've had people ask me out, she says, on your favorite park bench, and take me to Burger King or something, and I get it, money's a thing. There's some energy to her. But I just always feel like there needs to be a spectacle of it, Like you're trying to push through a membrane. The first date is a transformation, platonic to romantic, and she pauses. There needs to be a spectacle of it. Otherwise it fizzles. It fizzles. And you realize then and there how deeply you desire to ask her out. Paying down student debts has eaten into your savings, and as you look into options to proposition, you quickly feel unspectacular. In your unkempt bedroom, at your unkempt desk, you shut your laptop defeatedly and slump over in your unkempt chair. Then you hear a rapping at the window, and silhouetted by the spring sunset perches that same crow on your windowsill. He's been a regular visitor for the past months, and you started keeping nuts and seeds in your desk for him. You crack your window to pour some seeds out for your dear friend to eat, but before you can, he slips a small green piece of paper from his beacon to your apartment. You pick it up, unfold it, recognize the unmistakable visage of Benjamin Franklin, recognize the unmistakable characters that constitute a $100 bill. The crow caws once, nods, and takes to the sky, disappearing into the bright scarlet sunset. That weekend, you're walking Dana back to her place after an electric first date at the Grapevine, a small-town upscale restaurant. She's still reeling about a customer that was 2 tables over. A trust fund brat, she assumed. How do you even treat a person like that, she laughs. Look where you are, Barnaby. This ain't the fucking Louvre. The Louvre isn't a restaurant, you correct. Oh, you get what I mean. You walk, and she veers gently into you every so often, bumps your shoulder with hers like you've been taken in by each other's gravity. You smile, admire the window lights tracing contours down Donahue Avenue, the painted skies on the horizon, the way the sunset winds tousle Dana's wispy blonde hair. Then you hear a bird caw, and you glance over at Dana just in time to see a white glob of bird shit connect with the top of her head. Shit, what's on me? It's not raining, is it? Hate to break it to you, you say, but it looks like a bird just crapped on your head. Get out, really? She laughs breathily. Look, it's good luck in some cultures. If you don't want to wait until we get to your place to wash it out, you offer, my building is a minute away. She side-eyes you, and you nearly trip over a bulge in the sidewalk. I'd actually appreciate that, she says cautiously. In 5 minutes, she's in your apartment, and you're apologizing profusely for the mess, even though the mess is just a tissue that missed the garbage can. You point her to the bathroom, hand her a spare towel. If you're going to take a hot shower, you say to her, you need to, crack the door a little bit. The paint sticks when it's humid. Don't want you to get trapped in there. She eyes you again, suspiciously this time. Really, she says, was this all just a ruse to get me into your shower? Be honest. I do not control the location where birds choose to shit, you say. You can shut the bathroom door if you want, I wasn't telling you not to. Bang on it if you get stuck, I guess. Dana smiles, gives you a quick peck on the cheek, disappears into your bathroom. The door shuts, but you don't hear it lock. All you can think about is how adorable she is, even with the bird shit in her wispy blonde hair. You clear what you can off the love seat in your modest living room. Again, you hear a rapping at your window, and you see your smirking bird gazing mischievously at you, if a bird can wear mischief on its face. Clutched in its beak is a foil square. You recognize it as a condom wrapper. No, you whisper. No, I don't need that. But it sticks the wrapper in between the window pane and the frame and flies off, gasping like laughter. You sigh and open the window, snag the wrapper from where the crow left it. Only then do you realize it's empty. So you laugh breathlessly to yourself, saunter back to your love seat and sit back down. You hear a knocking from inside your bathroom, followed by a sheepish, "No, wait, I got it." The door swings forcefully inward, and Dana steps out. Her wispy blonde hair is congealed in wet little bunches. She smells like your dollar store shampoo. Move over. You scoot to the side, and she sits down in the love seat right next to you, leaning her damp head on your shoulder. You want to head home soon, you ask her? No, let's just... Can we stay here for a while? You feel her eyes tracing your living room. You nod. You didn't have to take me to the grapevine, you know. I wanted it to be spectacular, you say, and she laughs lightly. You could have taken me anywhere. You're spectacular anywhere. A pause. I like stories, not settings. And everything is a story with you, you know? Your brain leaves your body momentarily, and gently you allow yourself to kiss the top of her head. Her eyes widen briefly, but then flutter shut. You know a bird just shat there, she says. You smile. Thanks for the warning. Your summer plans fall through. An internship at a publishing house gone just like that. So Murph pulls some strings. You work with him at Gion's Consignment, the place where Murph has been working for well over a year. Quickly you join the rotating cast of characters working at Gion's. You meander among Dave, the assistant manager with wicked stepsister energy, and Jordan, the metrosexual 17-year-old whose defining personality trait was that he grew up in the Bronx, and Lucille, the casually racist 70-year-old former retiree. You and Murph work front of store often, ringing up gaggles of college girls looking for trendy, thrifted clothing and single mothers searching for cheap school clothes for their children. He's the best person to be in front of store with. He lets you turn the radio to the Abbott channel. Do you think I'll be here forever? Asks Murph one Tuesday morning. I feel like I'll be here forever. You look up from him wiping the counter beside your register. Would that be a bad thing? I just want more, says Murph. I'm moving to L.A. Finally, you ask, more explosively than you intended. I don't know, he says, as soon as I get the money. Build some savings. I want to act, you know, and this area is dead. Murph, you've been talking about this for years. The sentence is a gut punch to him. I know, he says. Listen, man, you say, just because you haven't left here yet doesn't mean you never will. And I'll always support you, no matter what. Always here to help you, you know? Yeah. But Murph, you have so much ambition and so little drive. If you're going to achieve this, I can only help you so much, man. You need to take action. It's not enough that I'm in your corner. It means everything that you're in my corner, says Murph instinctively. Right back at you, man, you say. The moment is cut short as a trio of college girls steps towards Murph's cash register. I'm about to go on break, actually, Murph says. You have the privilege of being served by my associate. He's kind of a big deal. He gestures at you, winks, and disappears into the break room as ABBA's Slipping Through My Fingers drifts knowingly through the store speakers. From the other side of the break room door, you can faintly hear Murph's gasping laughter resonate. There will come a day when you're more than happy, when you're filled with joy and peace, many years from now. You'll live in a new apartment, not tidy, not filthy, just cluttered with mementos of yours and Dana's little voyages locally and globally. Magnets from the gift shops of the sites the two of you have visited will checker your refrigerator. Framed photographs of your families and friends will adorn the walls. A headshot from Murph's first ever production, Beauty and the Beast, sophomore year, he was LeFou, will hang in some corner. He had let you have it back in high school. His eyes will be bright in that tableau, like you knew them, and his crooked smirk will make you smile bittersweet every time your eye catches it. The sun will shine in its bright blue oblivion overhead when you walk with Dana down a different park trail, sit on a new favorite park bench, watch completely different ducks trace effortless geometries in a wholly new lake. The warm breeze will tussle Dana's wispy, bird-shitless blonde hair, and whisper memories into your ear of the same breeze blowing when exploring some different woods with Murph back in the day. Dana will never know about the crow's visitations. They'll have stopped altogether. But on that one day, when the sun shines and the breeze blows, and Dana's hand is clasped in yours and stones skip on the smooth, rippling reservoir, a crow with frayed feathers will land beside you, with a glimmering rose-gold ring in its smirking beak. And you'll know what it means when your gaze drifts from your wingman's eyes to Dana's.
That was The Wingman by Steven Christopher McKnight and performed by Adam R. Adkins. Adam, and whatever he's working on next, can be found at www.adamradkins.com. That's www.adamradkins.com. If you would like to be considered to perform on Sell Yourself Short, head over to our website at www.sellyourselfshortpod.com. From there, you can apply to be one of the voice actors featured on the show, or to have something you've written performed. Now that you've heard The Wingman, let's hear from the man who wrote it. We're talking with Steven Christopher McKnight and asking him to sell us on himself, The Wingman, and anything else he's working on. Welcome, Steven.
Hey, Gary. How's it going?
Pretty good. I'm excited to have you on the show. I'm hoping you can tell us a little bit about what you're working on and what brought about The Wingman. But before we launch into that, can I just ask, what drew you to writing?
So, according to my mother, according to my grandmother, I started telling stories at a very early age. My mother often recounts how I used to just sit on my grandmother's lap and tell her stories about whatever was on my mind at the time. I've been writing since I could pick up and use a pencil. The first things I wrote, because I was the youngest of, 4 boys, is we played a lot of Pokemon, and they were always better than me because they could grasp mechanics and type charts and this, the other thing, various strategies. And, little 3-year-old, 4-year-old Steven was not good at that. So the first things I wrote were fan fiction where I could beat my brothers in Pokemon. And that has since taken a tumble downhill, and here I am.
Kind of creating the world you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just live out all of my wildest fantasies, and now I'm actually better than them, so eat it. And they don't care.
It just takes time, practice, and they're abandoning the hobby.
There we go. Yeah.
So I have to say, when I first read The Wingman, I was immediately drawn to it. I was excited to bring it on board for the show. What inspired you to write this piece in particular? It seems like there was definitely some personal stuff in there.
Oh, yeah. So, I have a close friend. He is still alive. His name is Murphy Dempsey, a brilliant actor, just a real cool guy. But he and I have been close friends for about past 10 years. We've been really good friends. And at one point, I asked him, just because I think in quirky Facebook posts, I say to Murphy, if you died an early death, would you reincarnate yourself as a crow and help me get laid? And then I was like, wait, there's a story here. It's like, gosh, because there's another short story that I wrote that's been published and has won a couple of awards, and it's called Leave the Window Open on Your Way Out, and it's this short story about a guy whose ex-girlfriend turns out to be 1,000 ladybugs in a skin suit. And that comes from a Facebook post that I made. It was like, boys, is she your girlfriend, or is she really 10,000 ladybugs in a skin suit? And I was like, wait, no, this is something to expand upon. So it's just...
So whenever you have one of those like lightning bolt moments,
Mhm.
you're just like, I have to document this immediately.
For certain, yeah, that's...
And then expand it.
Yeah, so the Wingman is that. It was an idea that I'd had for about 6 months, just as a short story germinating a bit. I'm currently at the tail end of a master's degree in theater, and just for fun, I have a bachelor's degree in theater, a bachelor's degree in creative writing, and I was like, I'm getting a little bored with these theater classes, I'm going to take a creative writing class, just have fun. And I took an environmental writing class, a class that had specific interest in the environment, very specific interest in like the idea of setting. So I was like, oh, the Wingman is that. So I was like, great, gonna plug that in there, finally expand on that idea, and yeah, just work through that.
I have a bachelor's in theater myself, and anytime I've had an interview for any sort of job, they've always said, oh, how can you use this theater degree in this position? And so it's been, theater's the most well-rounded profession, in my opinion, because you have to learn stage crew, you have to learn technical stuff, you have to learn how to deal with people, all these different things. Mm-hmm. So it's a great place to be.
It is, yeah.
It's a great resource to pull from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Clearly with creativity. Have you ever written any plays?
Yes, so I have several, not published anywhere in particular. They're all available on the New Play Exchange, so under Steven Christopher McKnight. But yeah, I've written a couple of long one-acts. Caius and Quid, which was produced by my old university, Susquehanna University, down in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania. That was produced during my junior year of college as a full performance. 20 Shillings and a Dog, which is another long, meandering one-act. That was performed as part of a staged reading series for my old university. I wrote, a monstrosity, a 144-page pseudo-biography play about Gavrilo Princip, the man who assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand. And, right now the main thing that I'm trying to get produced is, it's a 3-act play called Binding Prometheus. It's about, artificial intelligence, how that's used to, resurrect dead literary giants, and the existential crises, the existential spirals that, form as a result. So, very different world that I write plays in than what I write, prose in, because I've said this numerous times, prose-wise, I specialize in esoteric bird fiction, but, with scripts, it's just somewhere between Tom Stoppard and Oliver Goldsmith, Just some weird chimera, some weird hybrid of the two.
Taking different old things, making them new, that's how we create novel things in a world saturated with so much creativity. There's plenty still out there, but one of the best ways to do that is to take the old and combine it in new ways.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So with Binding Prometheus, is that, are you actively trying to produce that? Is that being produced somewhere?
I'm submitting it to various places. It was produced as a workshop read at my current university, but I had to be behind the wheel of that. I'd just like to send it off somewhere, have somebody take a look at it, and other than that, those are my full lengths, but I have, a one-act that's currently in repertoire at the Pro-English Theater in Kiev, in Ukraine. That was also produced here in Binghamton. But yeah, I would like to work on, the play is called The Iron Man of Prague, and it's based on a ghost story from Prague wherein, like, back in the 14th century, a knight went off to war and left his betrothed, and he came back, he heard his betrothed had married somebody else, and he decided to go marry someone else, but he'd been lied to. His betrothed committed suicide. He was like, oh no, killed his wife, committed suicide himself, and then came back as a ghost. And the legend is that every, I think, 100 years, he comes back and he walks the streets of Prague, and he, if he can keep a conversation going, he can find a virgin woman and have a conversation with him, with her for an hour without freaking the hell out. He gets to go to heaven. But he has not done that. So I wrote a play based on that. I want to work on, like, a cycle of one acts based on, like, all of the weird Prague tall tales, all the weird Czech tall tales that, you know, are sort of circling around that. But, you know, for now, I have that play in repertoire in Kiev, and yeah.
It seems like you seem to be drawing from all these different foreign culture folklore. What draws you to those things?
In 2019, I studied abroad in the Czech Republic. I studied abroad in Prague for a summer, and sort of just fell in love with the culture, fell in love with how weird the city was. It was just very conducive to ghost stories. And when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I graduated with a bachelor's degree in theater when all the theaters were shut down back in 2020. And I got a certification to teach English as a foreign language. So I started applying to jobs in Eastern Europe. The first job that accepted me was for an English language summer camp in Migovo in the Carpathian Mountains in southwestern Ukraine. So I worked there for a summer of 2021. And, you know, made a lot of friends there, spent some time in Kiev as a tourist, saw some theater in a language I didn't understand, made plans to come back after, you know, the next academic year to work at that camp again. Then the invasion happened. Then I got accepted into my master's program. And I was, like, in this existential spiral because I was like, I'm studying theater. This is not useful to the people that I care about. And so eventually, like, I obviously I accepted the placements in the program. But I finished defending my master's thesis literally this week. It is a 40,000 word monstrosity about Ukrainian theater.
Congratulations.
Thank you, yeah. But it's 40,000 words, it's about Ukrainian theater, the history of Ukrainian theater, with very limited English language sources, because it's not a history, it's not a dramatic history that a lot of people know about. And that sort of Eastern Europe is historiographically at the very least, pretty messy. It's not a history that a lot of Americans know. Not a lot of English speakers know. They just know the general overview of the Cold War. And they're like, yeah.
So, I am guilty of being one of the people who does not have extensive knowledge of Eastern European culture, history, etc. So when I find pieces of art that I can look at and learn from, I am absolutely a believer that art, theater in particular, is meant to educate as well as entertain.
Sure.
So I will look to these things to learn. I joke that I also happen to be a nurse, and I joke that I learned all the things I know for pathophysiology from Grey's Anatomy. And I also joke that all the things I learned about American history, I learned from theater. So, which is partially true. But
yeah.
So someone who has immersed themselves in the cultures and is trying to bring it in different ways to an audience that historically hasn't absorbed it, that's something that I want to say thank you for. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So
much.
Do any of the things that you've pulled from that come into play with Wingman? How long ago did you write this short story?
Yeah, so I wrote The Wingman about a year ago as part of this environmental writing class. Because as I said, ghost stories, especially in Eastern Europe, are weird, man. They're so weird. But, this idea of, I guess in its own way, yeah, the Wingman is a ghost story. The Wingman is this story of unrealized connection, of this desire to be something even after death. And it, takes that sort of desperation that you find in a lot of those European folktales, especially Eastern European, and especially in Prague. And I guess it Americanizes that. I don't know. We have our subtle influences, we're influenced in ways that we don't understand, and the ways that we don't always perceive the things that are influencing us, and we don't always know why the things that stick with us.
Mm. So when you're inspired to write a piece, we already talked about that it's something strikes you sometimes. I'm sure there's other occasions, but something strikes you and you say, I have to turn this into an entire work. Where do you go from there? What is your writing process from that point?
It's like, and I told the professor this at one point, and it was one of the most accidentally beautiful things I've said, but I said, I write like a branch breaking. So, okay. I'll always have an idea somewhere simmering here, I'll always be like, there's always something that's latched onto me that I'm like, okay, yeah, let's develop that. And it's like, the cracks begin to form before eventually it takes the plunge, It eventually falls.
A tipping point.
There's always that rolling, groaning, cracking that, the branch has not detached until it is completely broken off. But it happens very suddenly, and then ka-chow, falls to the ground. That's the sound a branch makes, ka-chow.
Well, I love onomatopoeia as much as the next person, so I will figure out how to write that up in a transcript. Ka-chow. So you sort of hit this tipping point of inspiration, mm-hmm. and at that, do you wait until you've fleshed everything out in your head and you kind of write and it's pretty much already there in your head to put out?
Yeah.
Or do you agonize, as some do, with back and forth of this is what I want to put here, or this is how I want to change this character's arc?
I got into a debate with the professor at some point, because I told him that I don't do redrafts, and he was like very obstinate about the fact that you have to rewrite something in order for it to reach its full potential. But I don't redraft things. I don't do radical revisions of things. If something is written out the way it is, maybe I'll tweak something. Maybe I'll look at the language of it and be like, maybe that's good, maybe that's not. I'll, use this word here. I'll maybe shift this section here. But ultimately, like, the way that it's written out the first time is the way it's going to get submitted to things. Like, there are these synapses that are firing. There's this reason why I wrote it this way. And I just want to preserve that state as accurately and as faithfully as possible.
I think a lot of that actually comes through with The Wingman. It felt how I think and how people can think, with the back and forth between times as well as a perspective of it is you who is experiencing these things versus telling a story about some other person. By embodying the protagonist in the reader, I feel like you've really done a good job of capturing the way a person thinks about things and the jumping back and forth of ideas. You can feel those synapses, as you described it, kind of coming through in your descriptions and in your progression with each scene within the writing. I'm eager to read some of your other work after reading The Wingman. So I will definitely be diving into that. Steven, thank you very much for talking with us today.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that I'm going to be going out and I'm going to be diving into Binding Prometheus pretty soon here. But for our audience, if they want to read your work, where's the best place to look for you?
Yeah, sure. So if you go to the website Vocal Media, that's vocal.media, that's the URL. I think a link will appear in the description of this podcast. But that's where I post blog posts, some short stories, and I have one project going on Vocal Media right now. Basically, I get paid a half penny for every read that I get on that website. I currently have an article going. If 20 million people read this article, I can never work again. So it's this it's this social experiment / please do this, please make this possible, so I don't have to work an office job ever again in my life, where if 20 million people read it, I don't have to work. I have enough in savings to not work ever again.
And then if people want to find you on social media, what's the best place to find you?
So that's going to be probably on Instagram. So my Instagram is McKnight, MCKNIGHT .theater, THEATRE. On there you'll find memes, what I've been doing. I made a really freaky guy at a costume shop the other day that you'll be able to see a picture of. It's a little stuffed Brachiosaurus that has 2 eyes that are different sizes. It's hilarious. I love it. But anyway, yeah, so you'll find that. I'm going to be doing some traveling soon, so you'll see pictures of that.
And the New Play Exchange as well, right?
And the New Play Exchange as well, yes. So New Play Exchange, get a subscription for it. I think it's about $15 a year, and for that you get access to a library of scripts from all sorts of playwrights. You have the opportunity to review, you have the opportunity to upload your own scripts, so it's a really good resource for any theater practitioners, any students, any producers. It's really solid stuff, so I highly recommend, even if you don't go for me, go for somebody else. It's a great resource. It's a wonderful resource.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Sell Yourself Short is a Curtin and Mike production. This episode was produced by Ed O'Shea and me, Gary Bernard DiNardo. If you enjoyed the show, like and subscribe. We'd love it if you shared this with someone you know or left us a review on whatever platform you use to find your podcasts. If you'd like to submit a piece to be considered for Sell Yourself Short, or if you would like to apply to perform in an episode, check out our website at www.sellyourselfshortpod.com. Until next time, remember, you gotta sell it.